How's it going, people? Today marks a new chapter, basically, in my life, personally. And I think me and my channel are about to take a little bit of a turn. For those of you that aren't following me on my personal social media stuff, that I know some of you do, but for those of you that don't follow me on my social media page, and for all of you, because most of this stuff I haven't talked about even on my social media page, my wife decided 3.5 years ago, because of her ex-husband monkeying around with her credit and everything, that she was going to quit paying on the house. Stick with me. This is an interesting story. Well, I think it is anyway. She quit paying on the house 3.5 years ago, which I never in a million years would have imagined we were able to go 3.5 years with no payments and not get evicted. At any rate, I didn't find out about the 3.5 years no payments until September, when she had gone into the hospital for the second time this year to have to only wind up getting a stent put in her neck to start dialysis because she had congestive heart failure and kidney disease. I don't usually get this personal, but it all has something to do with each other, so stick with me on this. I'm not looking for sympathy or anything else. Just telling you the story. She, of course, was just convinced that I was going to leave her because of all the complaining I had done while talking to the children. Of course, our children are all over 22 years old now, so keep that in mind. She had done a lot of drinking in the past, from like 2007 on. She got this new job that she was doing with the state of Tennessee over a year ago, and she had quit for the most part. Occasionally she'd still drink. I mean, I had no problem with her drinking occasionally. I don't personally, but to each his own, you know. Well, anyway, she was convinced I was going to leave her, so basically she'd gone in the hospital and had the kids call and tell me that the house hadn't been paid on in 3 years and that they were about to sell it. And I needed to get all my stuff and get gone. What? And I mean, I just woke up when I got that blatant, and just as blunt as what I just told you. So I start digging into it a little bit, and then I find out that no, the house was going up for sale on the 7th of October, and that I would traditionally have 30 days to get out after that. But we've got 22 years worth of stuff in that house. I'm just trying to scramble to think how in the heck we're going to get all that out in 30 days. Unless I just don't work and that's all I do nonstop is pack and tote stuff off to storage. which is pretty much what I've been doing. And another reason that I haven't done any videos, I posted a couple videos that I'd done just on the vehicles that I sold. Which, by the way, the blue Escalade that my first Copart project is actually sold now. It's sold to a guy in Ohio, a construction worker. The white one that I bought back in March sold first. I paid $1,500 for it. Sold it for $3,000. So I doubled my money. Now $1,500 was the out the gate price. I actually paid $925 winning bid and $1,505 out the gate, and sold it for $3,000. So I didn't do too bad on that one. And I didn't put a whole lot into it. I put a new clock spring in it. Thinking what all I did do. I put some newer tires on it because the ones that were on it were just bald. And I cleaned it up real good. That's literally all I did to it. The tires cost $125, I think. Clock spring was $173, and that's literally all I put in it. So for $1,700, I turned around and sold it weeks after finishing it for $3,000. The blue Escalade, I paid. Our winning bid was $1,500. I thought that was just a steal because it only had 129,000 miles on it. The out the gate price on that one was $1,750, and I drove it for 2.5 years. I put, well, my wife drove it a whole lot more than I did. Of course, she was a lot more pleased with it than I was. It was one of the better running vehicles that we actually had, so. But she drove it for, I want to say about 8 months solid, back and forth to Nashville, and ran the mileage way up. By the time she had her finished driving it, the mileage was 170 or 130. I'm sorry, 173 something. And I still sold that one for $3,800. Didn't quite double my money on that one. It was a little good bit off, but it was what it was. I mean, I still made money on it, even after driving it for 2 years. If you count the driving time, we did really good with that one. Of course, I bought all kinds of stuff for that one because I thought we were keeping it. And had things kept going the way they were, I would have kept it because it's a great running truck. Plus, I'd been all through that one. I'd changed the oil, changed the transmission fluid, and of course, everything was synthetic. Brand new tires on it, $890 worth of tires, all-terrains, the heavy-duty ones. Bought 5 sets of headphones to go with the DVD player in that one. That was the only one that we had that had that in it. Had the remote control for it also, and it worked flawlessly. Has a touchscreen radio in it and built-in nav, which didn't work unless you had a DVD. And the last DVD that was made for it was 2014, so anything beyond 2014, you have to get a whole nother stereo because it's not updated. Yeah, buddy, I'm waiting for the diesel. It's one of my pet peeves. Now that I'm a diesel truck driver, when people block up the diesel pump and take forever in the store, that gets on my nerves. Oh, and he still hasn't put his gas in. Wonderful. I've got all day to wait here, buddy. Nothing better to do. Anyway, wound up selling both of the Escalades. And the only reason I sold the blue one was because I was trying to buy a house. Since she hadn't paid the payments, and that house was all on her credit only, I had built mine up. So I figured, well, we'll go buy another house. And we found a really nice one. $180,000, brand new built. I'll put a few pictures up here of it. Nobody had ever lived in it before. Nice, decent looking house. And I put an offer in on it. Person accepted. We were in a contract, and the lady from the finance office calls me and tells me out of the blue one day that she can't get it to go through because my debt to income was off. Evidently that's important. Who knew? Now, me working for the company that I work for, they're dependent on what their customers want and what they pay for. Well, their customers haven't been exactly eager to spend their money this year like they usually are. So I was only getting 2, 3, maybe 4 if I was lucky days every other month, which was enough at the time to just get us by, but I wasn't able to do anything else other than just get by. Needless to say, I stayed at home when I wasn't working nonstop. There was no going out and doing anything. Anyway, we had our belts kind of tightened and didn't go anywhere, didn't do anything, but it was because I hadn't worked. That's what it was. Because I hadn't worked much this year. I didn't have a decent enough, I didn't make enough money basically to show that I could make all those payments for that $180,000 house. Now, a lot of you, something that I've figured out, a lot of you may think a $180,000 house is kind of nice, kind of impressive. This was only I think it was 1,700 and something square feet house, which for just me and her and our dogs was perfect. Had plenty of room to move. I was going to set up an office in the one room and have her little craft room in the other. Make her little craft room a secondary bedroom for when people come to visit or whatever, little guest room. And then my office was going to be where I do all my YouTube stuff, and which I haven't done in forever, I'm embarrassed to say, but they said that I couldn't get financed because of my lack of income for the year, basically. Never mind that we had been making the payments all year. We couldn't. The thing was, most of that was, ew, my hands are nasty. All that was done on her, or I thought it was being done on her credit. And I need to find a reg. Anyway, we weren't kicked out until after she went in the hospital. We're technically still not, but we should be. Let's see, how can I position all this? Anyway, the house plans fell through. We found another one that actually would have been a beautiful YouTube house. Lots of projects to do around there, and it would have just been nice to do. Unfortunately, by the time the realtor paid attention to my message and put us in for it, somebody else had already snatched it up. It is what it is. Why do all the diesel pumps have grease and grime and grit all over them? That's the people's diesel for in their personal vehicles. It ain't the ones back here, the grimies, the grimy ones that the truck drivers use to fill their rigs up when after they've got to grease up and lube up everything. But I've noticed that a lot, and maybe I'm just venting, but all of the regular auto diesel pumps are nastier than the ones that the truck drivers use for some stupid reason. I'm gonna start putting gloves on just to pump daggum fuel. The guy didn't get us put in for the second house on time, so it got thrown under contract for somebody else, and it had sat on the market for over a month. Nobody looking at it. So it was just comedy of errors and bad timing all rolled up into one. So we started looking at some other ones, some that were smaller. Price wasn't, but the houses were. I looked at one that had a swimming pool. Nice, quaint little house, but it was just too doggone small. The thing only had it said 1,000 square feet, but you couldn't prove it by me. There was barely enough room to turn around in the kitchen. Living room, I could almost touch the front wall and the middle wall at the same time. And it was wide, it just wasn't very deep. 2-bedroom, 1 bath, had a swimming pool and a hot rod in the driveway, but I'm sure they weren't going to leave that. We looked at several houses, some of them, and that was when we were looking in Kentucky. Then I reminded my wife that we'd have to change our gun permits, driver's licenses, and everything else to move into a house in Kentucky. And we'd have to start paying taxes. And the vehicles registration costs are higher. So that didn't work out so good. Started looking in Tennessee again and just looking all around this area, trying to stay out of the main city areas because that's usually where a lot of the trouble comes in. But the houses were slim picking. I mean, unless you spent close to $300,000 or more on a house, which we didn't have to do, you're in a shoebox basically. And we weren't doing the shoebox thing either. We wanted some room, but we didn't have to have a McMansion. Just something with a good little bit of room, and we were fine. We couldn't find anything decent. We found one other one in Westmoreland, which is about 30-45 minutes drive away from Portland where I live. And this is Tennessee, by the way. In case you try looking up Portland and Westmoreland on a map, you won't find it in Maine or Michigan or where was the other one? Oregon. Anyway, we we bid on one other house that was a shoebox, but only because it was $129,000. Now keep in mind, the house that we've been living in is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath mobile home, which wasn't my doing. She had it when I met her. And it was sitting on 6.5 acres. We were paying $78,000 for it originally.
Head north toward I-65 North. In a quarter mile, merge onto I-65 North.
Yeah, we're gonna have to listen to that because it'll all be explained here in a minute. Or a few minutes. Anyway, the house in Westmoreland had a basement in it. Nice full-size basement. Went the whole length of the house. Plenty of room down there for me to put my tools and everything else, keep everything stored, and didn't even need it would have been nice to have had a place to park a car, because that one only had like 2 little spots that you could park 1 vehicle in each, which wasn't going to work for me. But got outbid on that one. Somebody that went above the asking price. I wasn't about to do it. I didn't have a problem with the asking price, but I was not going to go above it, mainly because the front and side wall of that house, the basement was coming in on it. And I'm like, okay, that's not going to work for me. But then I called the foundation repair people, and they told me that they could fix it for little or nothing. I mean, not little or nothing, but it wasn't going to cost as much as rebuilding the whole house. So I was like, okay, well, maybe we can do something. Of course, we got outbid on that one, and I got discouraged. She was helping me look, but of course, with her having this foreclosure hanging over her, there was no way that she was going to be able to help out any. So what they finally told us was, in order for me to for sure get financed on something and it to be able to get pushed through and everything, I would have to pay off all my debt. Now, like I said, this is getting personal, very personal, about as personal as you can get without getting intimate. At the time, I owed $4,300 on my credit card. I owed $4,500 on my PayPal credit. This diesel truck that I still owed the final year's worth of payments on, which was $3,400. All 3 of those had to be paid off in order for us to for sure get financed with that finance company. Now, mind you, I was pre-approved for the loan, but for whatever reason, when it come time to fork the money over, that pre-approval meant nothing. To me, pre-approved means, yeah, go ahead and buy one within this price range and we'll support you on it. And that's not what happened. Not at all. Okay, so back up and try another attack. Paid off my credit card when I sold the, actually no, I'll take that back. Sold the blue Escalade, used that $3,800 to pay off my loan for this truck because the payments for it were $320 a month. And I I'd made them nonstop since I got the loan. Not a problem. But I went ahead and paid that off, even though I was trying to keep it going because I wanted to show that in the long run, over such a long time, I could still keep the payments going every month and not have a problem. Well, wound up with this being an issue, so I had to pay it off, which I didn't like, but I did. Then she had some money saved back from where she wasn't making our mortgage payments, and she put out the money to pay off the credit card, which I think, like I said, was like $4,500. So that left us with the $4,300 to PayPal that's owed. Well, she'd been going to getting back to her health thing. When she got out of the hospital, she had lost enough weight working at the Sweatbox plastics factory that she worked at for 6.5 years that she was able to or that they told her, she said they told her she was no longer diabetic because she had been stage 2 diabetic before. Well, of course, that just tickled her pink. She got out and started eating everything under the sun that she wasn't able to eat before when she was considered diabetic still. But she couldn't eat salt because that would make her body retain water, which was a bad thing with her congestive heart failure. So she starts mowing down everything. Everything is not nailed down. All the sweets and goodies and crackers and you name it. Well, when she first got out, she went to stay at my son's house because our house is in severe disrepair right now. We've got mold growing everywhere. It was black mold and the green mold's taken over. And I didn't think that much about the green mold because I figured we could kill it with Clorox or whatever. Come to find out, any mold on or in a house is detrimental to your health. Who knew? But the green mold has taken over because our property stays so wet. It's taken over the whole underside of our house. So she couldn't come back there because she had to live in an almost sterile environment. So she went to live at my son's house, which is pretty much is. For the first the first month and a half, she was driving herself from Russellville, Kentucky to Bowling Green, Kentucky every other day to do dialysis. Things were going great. Our numbers were coming back really good. Didn't have a problem. Then she catches a cold from my grandson. They all caught it. And all of a sudden she's telling me that I need to come get her and take her to dialysis myself. I didn't have a problem doing that except for the fact that from my house to my son's house is almost an hour's drive. And then from his house to her dialysis is an hour and 22 minutes, somewhere in there. Of course, once I get there to drop her off at the dialysis clinic, it's a 30-minute drive back to my house. So basically what I would do is go pick her up, take her to Bowling Green to the dialysis, drop her off, rush back to the house, let the dogs back out again. And this whole time, from September, from my birthday basically, from my birthday on, I have been packing and throwing stuff out and cleaning and you name it. Trying to get all of our stuff out of that house so that we can just move in somewhere else when the time comes. The problem is the time's not coming. When her eyesight, or when she stopped going to dialysis, or started having me drive her to dialysis because of the fact that her eyesight was going. Now, I didn't think anything of it at the time, but in hindsight, why would a perfectly healthy woman who's had fairly decent eyesight all of her life just all of a sudden start going blind, where she can't see well enough to drive or do much of anything else? Why would somebody that's had diabetes previously, let's just focus on that piece, all of a sudden start going blind? But they told her supposedly that she wasn't diabetic anymore. Okay, now let's put that aside, the whole thing. I've been driving her for about a month and a half myself. So we're talking about a total of 3 months time frame from the time she got out of the hospital until now. And not have a problem with it. I mean, it was kind of interesting at times doing that and working my job when I actually managed to get jobs. But I did. And she making it to her appointments, and like I said, she was still doing well, but she was just going blind. Last Tuesday, December 22nd, my daughter that lives in Alabama had come up, her and her boyfriend, and they brought their trailer, their travel trailer, so that they could stay in it and not have to be cramped up in my son's house. But they brought their trailer up, and she volunteered to take my wife to dialysis in her truck, which was still out there. And then they were going to take her to get her eyes checked out at the ophthalmologist. Got up that morning, my daughter came in talking to her, making sure she was getting ready. And we had the small dog, the little wiener dog, the dachshund, out there with her because she wanted one of them there, and he's the only one that was peaceful enough to be in their house and not just keep a constant commotion going. So she had him out there with her. And she was going to let him out. Made it as far as the doorway and bent over saying that she couldn't breathe. Or was trying to catch her breath. Couldn't catch her. So she walked back in towards her bedroom, and to get to her bedroom from where the back door was, you had to go through a bathroom. About halfway through the very short, small little bathroom, she wound up sitting down because she just couldn't catch her breath still and went into a seizure and died. I wish I was kidding about that. That's not something you joke about, but I wish I could say I was kidding. I'm not. The ambulance shows up. Of course, she'd been 5 minutes with no oxygen by the time they got there. And the hospital's right down the street. I mean, not even 5 minutes drive down the street. But they weren't at the hospital. They got there, revived her, got her in the ambulance, headed to the hospital. Got her to the hospital, got her in the trauma unit, and she died again. And they couldn't get her back. So my life went all to pieces right then. Because even though she hadn't been paying our mortgage or whatever, it's my wife. I still loved her. I was still in it with her. And we were trying to figure things out, how to fix all this. And she died. Of course, no will. I've been told there's life insurance through her work, but I haven't seen anything yet. Her funeral's this weekend. She wanted to be cremated, so that's what we've done. I didn't have the money to pay for it. My son and hopefully future son-in-law paid for it. Of course, I'm going to pay them back because that's just proper. Of course, my daughter's boyfriend respected my wife quite a bit. And we both respect him quite a bit because he's a very polite young man and just, I don't know, nice, polite, honorable guy. All around good guy. Anyway, and this is where the new direction for the channel piece comes in. Since she's passed, and I can't get finance until my loans are all paid off, and there's not really any decent homes around that aren't just shoe boxes that I wouldn't put a dog in. I've decided that I am going to purchase a used little fix-me-up kind of trailer, travel trailer. It's got some room in it, hopefully. I'm on my way to see it now. That's what this is all about. 25 foot with a slide out travel trailer that will work with the ball that I've got in the bed of my truck right now. It's a gooseneck fifth wheel, basically. And the guy wants $3,000 for it. If it's in the shape that it appears to be in the pictures and the shape that he insists talking to him that it's in, that's going to be my new home. And I'm going to be living the nomad life. I don't know that that's the shape that it's actually in, but we're fixing to find out. And this thing has got to be right because this is going to be my home. I can't stay where I've been staying because it's foreclosed on. And the people were nice enough, I managed to talk to them nice enough that I'm able to get out, or I'm able to stay there until the 20th of January. And by then I've got to have a place to go, a place to be, me and the two dogs. the thing is, nobody's going to rent a house to me with 2 dogs. Especially not with one of them being a German Shepherd and the other one being a mid-sized mixed mutt, basically. The screwed up thing is the mixed mutt is the better behaved of the 2 dogs. My son, when my wife died, told me that they didn't want the dachshund there because he, at the time, was marking things. But the dachshund's got a way of winning your heart. Oh, it is doing it, okay. Dachshund's got a way of winning your heart when you sleep with him. And since our little Rufus couldn't sleep with Mama anymore because she was gone, he had been getting in their bed with them and sleeping next to my son's wife. When I went back out there a couple days ago, I basically was picking up my wife's things, which you can see in the seat behind me still because I got them home, but I haven't done anything with them. But I asked her, I said, so do you still want me to take Rufus with me? She says, no, I kind of like him to stay here now. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, I figured that was coming. Which, I mean, he's a sweetheart. It's hard not to love that little sucker. He's funny, kind of goofy. And during the cold months, he's great to have sleeping next to you because he'll keep you warm all by himself. He's like a little heater. But anyway, she decided that she wanted him to stay, so he's out there. So it's not 3 dogs that I have to look for a home for as well as myself. It's just me and the 2 bigger ones. And I'm not giving up on those dogs. So anyway, I'm on my way now to see this trailer. The first of, hopefully it's all that the guy says it is. Because if it's not, he's not getting jack. But I've got the $3,000 cash on me right now. So if it's everything he says it is, I'll hook up to it and hand him the cash and drive it home. Of course, then I've got to start getting it ready to live in. The guy said it does have a problem with the slide, that it doesn't work like it's supposed to. It takes 2 people to get it in. But usually that's because something's out of a line or broken. And it's something simple to fix. The thing is, I just passed Camping World, which used to be Gander Mountain here in Bowling Green. But worst comes to worst, I'll pull in there with it and have them look at it. I've got a couple $100 extra on me. And if it's not too much, I'll go ahead and have them fix it right now. And then whenever and wherever I want to go, I can. The problem is most of these RV parks, especially around here right now, the RV parks are so expensive that to stay in one of them for any length of time at all, you're paying more than you would. Daggum allergies. You pay more to stay in one of these RV parks right now than you would for a mortgage. The other side of that is this mortgage payment that you're paying to stay in these RV parks each month includes water and electricity for the most part. But you have to be, you're either, I'm just finding this out. This is my first experience with this stuff. You're either in a 35 amp spot or a 50 amp spot. And you can convert a 50 amp to a 35 with a converter or whatever, which I'm going to try and make sure this guy has. If not, then that's one of the things I'll have to pick up on the way home with it. I'm not guaranteeing I'm getting it, but I'm heading there with the money in hand, thinking that I'm driving it home. And before any of you ask, that ring right there was my wife's wedding band. That's where it'll be unless one of my daughters wants it to get married with. I had to take it off of her hand myself because she couldn't have it on when they cremated her. They weren't going to do that. So I took it off and put it on my finger, and I figure if nothing else, I'll keep it there. I'm not taking my ring off either. I'm still married as far as I'm concerned, even though I'm a widower. Never imagined I'd have that title. Wow. But that's pretty much the state of things. So my car, computer, gadget channel, I mean, and I'll probably still have those sort of things, but I'm going to also be including the nomad life, where I'm pretty much living out of a mobile home or a travel trailer and taking it from place to place. Now, the only reason I'm doing this is because taking it from place to place is meaning I'm going to be different RV parks in the Middle Tennessee area. My work, this is my area to work. So this is where I'm going to be. If they continue to not give me jobs in 2021, they can come get their company car back, and I'll move my tail down to Georgia. My best friend has been begging me since I moved to Tennessee for 30 years now. He's been begging me to move back home. So if I don't do, and let me back up for a second again. Staying in the Middle Tennessee area, I didn't have to do that to keep working here. My children are also here. The oldest and the youngest daughter are still in this area, and one of my grandchildren. My son's, like I said, right at an hour away. Him, his wife, and my grandson. So I'm not wanting to go too far away from here. But if the job's not here, then I may move my butt down to Georgia with my buddy. It could happen. Then the fun will really begin, because he's a nut, and I'd be around him more than anything. But I am planning on getting back into doing videos. And trying to make a go of it. A weird rumbling. Almost sounds like something's rubbing under my truck. Anyway, I'm going to shut this off for now because the memory card's starting to get full. And I'll cut it back on once I've either gotten the trailer or refused it. In other words, I'll be back with you in just a little bit. Well, I can't do that. I just can't. I was ready to drive that thing home and start loading it. Ooh, doing a fox. Oh, cool. I was ready to drive that thing home and start loading it up. Getting ready to move it out. Got sun flares. I can't do it. And the guy took good pictures. They weren't great pictures, but they were good pictures. But there's black mold all through that thing. The roof in the bedroom, which he obviously didn't take pictures of because I would have stopped me right there. Roof in the bedroom's falling down. It's getting wet. He says, oh, it don't leak. The heck it don't. That ceiling don't fall down because it's just tired of hanging up there. It's falling down because it's water soaked. Along with the main roof is water soaked and trying to fall. And the back end of it looks like a tree fell on it. It's been totaled out. I could get something like that in better shape than that at Copart for about what I was going to pay him for that. I gotta live in this thing. I'm not I mean, yeah, I've got the $3,000 in my pocket, but I'm not about to live out of a dumpy trailer that I've got to rebuild while I'm living in it. And realistically, I didn't mind rebuilding or working on it while I'm in it. I didn't expect it to be brand new, but that thing is trashed. I mean, that's like something you see in the back part of Copart that they just gave up on. And it makes me mad because, honest to God, I was interested in it. I've turned the ball in my bed up to just pull in and hook up to it, give them the $3,000 and go. And there is no way I'm doing that. And that frustrates the fire out of me because now I'm under pressure. Now I've got to find something else and try and get in it and get the heck out of Dodge. Jesus. Not to mention I wasted 2.5 hours by the time I get home coming up here. And I mean, I don't fault the guy for trying to get his money back out of it, but there's no way. And he tells me, well, there's 6 other people coming up here to look at it. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, they can have it. That's just not for me. I mean, I didn't try to insult the guy, but there's just too much wrong with that thing. First off, it's been owned by like 6 people. And he says in his ad that he put it up there, or he posted it up there to try and get his money back out of it because he bought it as a project. Well, buddy, you don't pick projects very well, obviously, for starters. Because that thing, oh my God. And yeah, I'm freaking out. Because now, what am I going to do? I got $3,000 that I had to beg to get, thinking that this thing was going to be in great shape, and it's just not. So now I'm going to probably have to go in debt because I can't get a loan through my bank unless I keep a $5,000 balance and I stand on one foot and rub my head and pat my belly and sing Yankee Doodle Dandy. That's the only, I mean, I tried to do a personal loan to the bank and you'd have thought I was asking them for a kidney or something. Betty, you're not going around. This is ridiculous. And now I have no clue what I'm doing. Everything as it is, I'm homeless in 20 days. 3 days. I was hoping this was going to be a completely different kind of video. Otherwise, I wouldn't have started it.